Hello and welcome to the Capital Games Podcast. I'm the Wiz.
And I'm Zero.
Zero, you're back. Not like you ever went anywhere, but you're back, and that's what matters. And that is what matters today. Now, you come back every week to deal with my dumbass, and you still are here, and that's great. I love to hear it, because someone has to be the brains, and the look, and the looks, and the brawn, and everything in this podcast when I'm here. Because when I'm here, I'm not even sure what my strengths are. But since you're here, you're the one everyone likes. But anyway, we are gathered here today to talk about the gaming news, and there were some tasty ones this week. So why don't we get started with even more game announcements that happened this week? This has been the past 2 weeks now. We've had nothing but game announcements. We have streams. We have all the stuff from... Wasn't Gamescom 2 weeks ago, or was that a month ago?
2 weeks ago, if I remember correctly.
Wow. And then we had a bunch of streams last week, and this week was Tokyo Game Show. And there were some interesting announcements, and it sounds like you have a bunch that you want to talk about. So I want to give you the floor and talk about what were the things that were interesting that was announced at Tokyo Game Show. Go right ahead.
So, Capcom had a real short presentation, but it was one hell of a whopper of an info drop. So, Monster Hunter Rise's Sunbreak is getting another update, more costume pieces, but the big one is that there will be 3 new monsters added to the rosters. Mm-hmm. So, for anyone who is on the end game grind for Sunbreak, there's going to be even more stuff for you to do. And Capcom ended up teasing that the next major update is going to be in November. So if you get caught up with all your grinding, then I'm sure by November there's probably going to be more stuff for you to grind on. So there's that. Another big one is that they talked a little bit more about the Resident Evil Village DLC and the fact that story-wise it's going to end the Winter's family story arc. So if anyone was kind of attached to the Winters family, then just know that there will be no more further stories involving the Winters family after this expansion drops.
Okay.
So, and then the one that was really, really big out of the Capcom Tokyo Game Show presentation was Street Fighter 6 and the reveal on how the whole World Tour mode is going to work. Mm-hmm. And basically, you as the player will be creating your own character. And what makes it interesting is your custom created character. You can dress him however you want. You can make him look however you want. But what makes it interesting is you will have to pick somebody in the Street Fighter universe to be your instructor. Mm-hmm. And they were showing that Dalsim could be your instructor. You could have Ryu being your instructor. You can have Luke being your instructor. You could have Chun-Li, and just the gamut just completely runs wild. And you'll basically use your skills to get through some of the areas in World Tour. And on top of that, they showed that your custom character may bump into random people on the street, and they might want to throw hands with you, and then you got to use your techniques and skills that you've learned from your instructor to get through these fights. Mm. And I know a lot of people got real excited about the possibilities and everything, especially when they show some of the training scenes where you end up training in Kung Fu with Chun-Li, and you saw in this trailer, you saw like a male character practicing Kung Fu technique with Chun and everything, and so on and so forth. So a lot of hype behind that. And then after that, the one thing that they did show was how the multiplayer lobbies works. And this disappointed me a bit. Okay. Because instead of a just quick functional menu to just get you in and out of the fights as fast as possible, they have taken the 3D lobby approach that all the Arc System games have taken, where you basically wander around a virtual arcade, sit down at a virtual arcade cabinet, and you basically just square off against whoever you sit down with and everything.
It's like
And
it's like how Dragon Ball Fighters is, right? Where
it's
everyone's in a
exactly how
circle.
Dragon Ball
Okay.
Fighters and also the new Guilty Gear and everything. So
Okay.
a little disappointed to see that they're going with that because it's just so kludgy and just not really efficient if you're just trying to get fights one and done as quick as possible so you can fight as long as you want.
Hmm.
But that's my personal opinion on it. So
Okay.
essentially, that was the Capcom presentation in a nutshell.
Okay. Yeah, Capcom has some interesting games coming out. Street Fighter 6 even with which is a great sign, even with all the leaks and everything that happened with Street Fighter 6, people are still very excited by that for that game. So, it's looking, and I am too. It looks great. So I can't wait for it to come out, and that might be one of my day one purchases. I don't do that as much anymore as I used to, but that might be one I will spring the $60 to get. Oh, I hope it's just 60. But yeah, I'll spring the money to get it. So that sounds good.
Yeah. Also, and I almost forgot to mention this one. In the Capcom presentation, they did do a story trailer for Exo Primal,
Mm-hmm.
and I completely forgot, mostly because just I don't have much interest in Exo Primal now that it's being billed as a PvPvE game. So,
Yeah.
completely almost forgot that that was announced. The next big presentation that happened was the RGG Summit held by Sega to talk about the Like a Dragon stuff.
Hmm.
And it is official, Sega is going away from the Yakuza branding and rebranding the series in the West as Like a Dragon because that's literally what the Japanese title translates to. But what was really, really significant about this is the fact that one of the announcements was something that was announced the day before in the PlayStation presentation, which was that Like a Dragon Ishin is being completely remastered from the ground up in the new Dragon engine, and it's coming to PS4 and PS5.
Hmm.
And so they had another trailer sort of showing off the premise and the story of Ishin. So if anyone was looking for more info on Ishin, I would highly advise you to go to the Sega of America channel and bring up the Assault trailer for Ishin, which dives a little bit deeper into the story.
Hmm.
But there were two big announcements that followed after the Ishin Assault trailer, which was one of them was Like a Dragon 8 was shown off, and apparently Kiryu's back as one of the main focal characters.
Hmm.
In what capacity that is back is to be determined, but that kind of gets into one of the other things that was announced too, which was a Like a Dragon side story called The Man Without a Name, and it features Kiryu, but Kiryu is now working for another Yakuza group that masquerades as a Buddhist temple.
Hmm.
And apparently his name is no longer Kiryu, it's now Joryu. So they didn't really expand on much. It was just kind of a teaser that sort of sets up the premise and everything.
Hmm.
And Sega has come out and said that this Like a Dragon side story game is probably going to be anywhere from like 10 to 20 hours. So
Okay.
it's going to be real short and sweet. So if you're not looking for a full-blown Yakuza experience, then this might be kind of an interesting sort of thing. No release date announced really for Like a Dragon 8 and Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Without a Name. So I guess Sega will announce the release dates on when they feel comfortable to confirm a release date.
Okay. The now it's Like a Dragon. I mean, I guess Yakuza is only for the States. The name.
Yeah, for North America and Europe, essentially.
Okay. I have questions as to whether that will hurt sales for the States at least if it's not called Yakuza anymore. But other than that, I mean, that's certainly exciting. I've not been able to get into the Yakuza or Like a Dragon series. I tried Zero and liked what I played, but I never finished it. but it's also one of those things that there's so many. There's just so many of them now. It's kind of daunting to start from zero and go up to get acquainted with everything. So there's that. But the spinoffs sound interesting and everything. So yeah, it'll be. And this is a series that is climbing in sales at every iteration too. So makes sense.
One interesting announcement that was just real sudden and just came out of the blue was Konami is making a remaster bundle of Suikoden 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
And
yep.
This was a very welcome surprise, especially considering I believe it was 3 or 4 weeks ago, Konami had renewed the trademark for Suikoden, and most people, me included, I just kind of dismissed it as, oh, well, it's probably just going to be some terrible chintzy mobile game on that'll rely on a gacha mechanic that you'll have to pull tickets to summon your favorite characters and everything, and it's probably just going to be an awful game.
Yeah.
But when this trailer showed up just out of nowhere, it floored me because everyone who grew up on the original PS1 has always mentioned that Suikoden 1 and 2 were just absolutely beloved games. So to have a more accessible way to play this game is just an absolute treat to see.
Right. They put 1 and 2 on PS3 through the PS1 Classics. I'm sure they did too. Am I wrong on that? I am more than certain they did too, because that was a big deal when it happened. Because 2 is such a rare game that if you want to play it, you have to spend hundreds of dollars to get the disc. So them putting this out has got people excited, thinking that maybe they'll make another Suikoden game, or Konami's back in the business of making games too. They also announced, or they also, I guess, revealed that they are doing revival of other franchises from Konami, like the Maze of Gallius, Star Soldier Paradis, Twinbee, and Puyon. I've never heard of Puyon. Do you know Puyon?
Yeah. Have not heard of that one, but I'm sure I may have played it in the past or something, because played a lot of the obscure stuff from Konami back when I was much younger. So, but yeah, it was kind of interesting seeing that Konami is looking to revive some of their older label stuff. Parodius is a little bit heartwarming for me to see, because I remember playing a lot of Parodius as a kid on the arcade cabinets in my area and everything. So a Parodius revival would be great to see, just because of the absolute silliness of the whole thing.
Yeah. And if these do well, this could mean that Metal Gear might come back. So, we'll see at least. But it looks like Konami is getting back into the video game industry, it might seem, to an extent, maybe. So,
well, they have been saying that their video game revenue has been going up ever since COVID sort of kicked off. So there has been a much more united front on Konami to say, hey, video games are keeping us alive, so maybe we should do a little bit more in this video game thing. For context, if you do not know, for any listeners out there, Konami's biggest moneymakers before COVID were actually health clubs and karaoke clubs. And you can imagine what happened when COVID hit Japan. No one was going to the health clubs. No one was going to the karaoke clubs. Yeah. So for video games to ironically be the thing that saves them was a little bit of a funny turnaround, because I remember one of the quarterly reports that they had put out in English and everything, they had pretty much mentioned, yeah, so due to the COVID downturn, we're not making much money in our big money makers like health clubs and karaoke clubs, but video games have been doing us good, so we're probably going to try to focus a little bit on the video games.
Yeah.
Xbox had a really big presentation, which actually kind of surprised me, because for a number of years, Xbox has sort of skipped doing anything big and splashy at Tokyo Game Show, but they had a full-blown video presentation this time around, and they're really going all in on the anime games, because the day the presentation aired, Danganronpa V3 Killing Harmony immediately dropped on Game Pass, both for Xbox and PC. which I was just like, wow, that's one hell of a way to kick off the presentation, just to say, hey, we haven't forgotten Japan, so here's a beloved visual novel that has graced most platforms that Japanese gamers are familiar with, but also, by the way, it's coming to Xbox.
Nice.
Ni no Kuni, the first one, that one also got dropped onto Xbox Game Pass as well, uh, for Xbox consoles and PC. So that was great to see, because a lot of people were sort of wondering, you know, the remasters coming out to PC and PS4. Is Xbox getting anything? Because Namco Bandai has been doing a lot of Xbox stuff, so what's the deal? And then just that one also was announced during the presentation and immediately got shadow dropped into the Xbox Game Pass program. So it is immediately available to play, and they did confirm that the sequel game will be coming out to Xbox next year. And then there was a reminder about the Persona stuff, that Persona 5 is coming soon. Same for Persona 4 Golden and Persona 4 or Persona 3 Portable. So kind of a nice reminder for anyone who had forgotten. But these next two are real heartwarming to see. Mostly because I'm a fighting game fan and everything. Guilty Gear Strive and BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, both games are coming to Xbox Game Pass, and it will be sometime next year. But yeah, just absolutely floored me, because I love both games. I like Cross Tag Battle a little bit more, but that's my personal preference. But yeah, just to see both of them coming out to Game Pass and Xbox just in general is great to see. I believe both games do have rollback code for PS4 and PS5. I do wonder if there will be cross-lobby support for both games, because I think that would just be absolutely heartwarming to see both games get cross-lobby support, so you can play with your friends on PlayStation or PC and just all around have a great time.
Yeah, I hope Cross Tag Battle comes with all the DLC, because the first two seasons brought on a lot of different fighters. So, and when Cross Tag Battle came out, it didn't really have a lot. I think it had about 18 to 20 at the time. And it's a 2v2 fighter, so that's okay for a roster. But the other characters they added did a lot of good things for the game. So I hope they include the DLC into that release.
Yeah, I can confirm from the Xbox PR post that they have about the presentation that the version that will be coming to Xbox Game Pass will be the special edition, which is essentially just a all DLC included package.
Nice. Very good.
So, yeah, that will be coming to Game Pass, so no worrying about, oh, well, yeah, we're bringing it to Game Pass, but you're only getting the base game.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
So, the last big announcement, which was also kind of great to see, it was Deathloop is making its way to Xbox, and it actually came out to Game Pass today. So, that was one that a lot of folks were sort of waiting on, because, of course, Deathloop had been PlayStation exclusive for PS5 for the longest while. And then on top of that, you had the fact that there's the purchase of the Bethesda Softworks being merged into Microsoft. So a lot of folks were wondering when the exclusivity period for Deathloop would be over. But yeah, just this was announced towards the tail end of the presentation that Deathloop would be coming out September 20th, which is today as we're recording this. And on top of that, they are adding a Golden Loop update, which also dropped today, that adds a photo mode. You get some additional accessibility options. crossplay matchmaking, which is huge. So you can now cross match with PC players and PlayStation players. And then there are a whole bunch of quality of life fixes too. And then you have some new guns, some new abilities that were added to the game, some new enemy types, an additional ending that was added, and all that. So if you haven't had a chance to play Deathloop and you're on Xbox, then yeah, just great time to check it out, especially with this new Golden Loop update. The Golden Loop update is also hitting PlayStation and Steam, so if you've already bought the game on another platform, then you don't have to worry about missing out on this update. So kind of a nice thing to see. But yeah, just great to see that Deathloop is finally making its way to Xbox as of today, and Xbox gamers will be able to experience that. Sort of a minor announcement on the end of the Xbox Tokyo Game Show presentation is Playground Games, in conjunction with Xbox Studios, is celebrating Forza Horizon's 10th anniversary. And it was just kind of a real quick video montage of just going through all the games and everything. But it's a bit interesting since they had the hero car from the first Forza Horizon game, which was a Dodge Viper, sort of racing through all the locales from California to France to Italy, Australia, Britain, and Mexico, just zipping through everything. Kind of an interesting show of things, and then they tease that there will be a celebration in Forza Horizon 5 when the Forza Horizon 10th anniversary celebration happens. As far as the details on the celebration, not really much info to go off of, so we will have to wait until Turn 10 has a little bit more substantial info to drop on this. Another interesting announcement from the Tokyo Game Show was Star Wars Eclipse, which is the Quantic Dream production Star Wars game, was revealed with a trailer, and Quantic Dream has been saying that this will merge both an action-adventure game, but also with some of the fundamental stuff that you come to expect from a Quantic Dream game. So the usual sort of quick-time event sort of madness in a Quantic Dream game, the fact that all of your choices can lead to an ending, be it bad or good. So kind of interesting if you're into the Quantic Dream games, though this one is going to be set in the Star Wars universe. So if you're a big Star Wars fan, might be kind of exciting. Though if you're not much of a Quantic Dream fan, then this might not be too exciting for you. It's kind of hard to say. I'm a little bit kind of on the lukewarm side when it comes to the Quantic Dream games. I'm not really too into them, but I'm not someone who will completely outright dismiss the Quantic Dream games.
Okay. Is there anything more to talk about with Tokyo Game Show?
I think that's really it for just the major announcements, because a lot of the announcements had some crossover with both the Nintendo Direct and also the PlayStation presentation that happened the day before.
Mm-hmm.
So thankfully, just a lot of that stuff got retreaded for the Japanese audiences. But yeah, as far as Tokyo Game Show stuff, I think that about covers it.
That's good. Okay. Some interesting announcements. Again, like you said, is a retread of previous announcements, but more in depth to a certain extent, except for the Like a Dragon announcements and everything. So, yeah, it was solid, but it looks as if the sales for Tokyo Game Show itself went down this year, especially compared to 2009, because according to VGC, it looks like they only made half the amount of I guess, ticket sales or an attendance that they did in 2009. So, but that's also isn't this also the first one that they've had since the pandemic? So
Yeah.
that might be why. So it might not be that big of a deal with that end. But yeah, some decent announcements. It sounds like so. That's good. So why don't we go ahead? Unless do you have more to add?
I will say, kind of for closing notes and everything, definitely check out Koei Tecmo's channel as well too, especially since they had a 25-minute playthrough of Wulong Fallen Dynasty. So for anyone who is really into the Soul style game, then yeah, you might really be interested to see how the game plays. I believe also the Koei Tecmo channel also has some Italia Ryza 3 gameplay. So if you're into Italia Ryza, definitely go there and check it out.
Nice.
Other than that, I think that's really the only thing I feel should be a special mention.
Yeah, Wulong is coming out in January, correct?
Yeah, Wolong comes out in January, I believe.
Good. Well, so that's good that they're showing more of that then, and that's something that looks really good. So I'll check that out as well. Okay, let us move on. There is one big news story that happened this past week. It was pretty quiet throughout the last week, except for Tokyo Game Show. But then probably the biggest story of the year happened on Sunday. What happened basically is that a hacker got into Rockstar Games' servers and were able to pull out a whole bunch of data from GTA 5, the canceled remake of Red Dead Redemption, the canceled remake of Grand Theft Auto 4, and what is making the big news is there was code, gameplay, and a lot of screenshots for GTA 6, which has yet to have been announced. It has been announced by, I'll correct myself, it has been announced by Rockstar that it is in development, but they haven't showed anything from this game. But because it got leaked, now everyone's seeing gameplay and stuff from the game itself. Why don't we start with Zero? What did you think when the leak was found out about GTA 6?
The first thing I thought, and this is going to sound nerdy as hell, my IT security professional hat was on, and first thing I was thinking was, oh hell, just I can see the security team getting grilled for days. There's going to be a mandatory lecture about internet security, and then everyone in the company, top to bottom, is going to have to do a remedial unit on internet security literacy.
Now, you mentioned also when this happened that this could have been due to the fact that everyone was doing all their work at home.
Well, possibly, because I don't know if Rockstar has since walked back their work from home protocols or anything, but I know during the height of the pandemic they did have a work from home protocol that basically had people having mandatory requirements to log in via VPNs and stuff like that. So I do not know if those protocols are still in action or if they have since done away with those protocols and have made people come in physically to the office.
Okay. I mean, but it's within reason to think that maybe there is still a good amount of people who are working at home still, right? Because I don't think there's only been a few companies that I know of that actually has mandated people to come right back to work. Was Rockstar one of those people, one of those companies? I don't remember hearing that.
Yeah, I can't remember for the life of me. I'd honestly have to look it up. But yeah, I know that was one piece of speculation that I had, which was maybe someone was very, very sloppy with their work from home protocols, and that was sort of the gateway drug to get the keys to the kingdom, proverbially.
Okay. People started thinking that this was probably a disgruntled employee, or, well, actually, that's a lot of what people thought when this was announced, when this was shown off. But it turned out that a hacker was basically involved in this. As he revealed himself later in the day on Sunday, and he said specifically he not only had videos of gameplay of 6, but he had source code for 5 and 6, and I believe he also had source code for the remasters that got canceled. So, what are your thoughts on what are your thoughts on this hacker pretty much being very brazen and shooting at his shot to try and extort Rockstar Games on their properties?
Unfortunately, I think he's in a country that doesn't do any sort of extradition, so likely nothing will happen. But I think really the bigger ripple effect will be what will happen to all of the Rockstar employees, in particular the live service team, because one of the things that was leaked was the source code for GTA 6, and naturally it was revealed in Rockstar's PR post this morning that I think a lot of the code was heavy on the live services end. And one of the biggest things that's a big moneymaker with GTA Online right now is those godforsaken shark cards. So I have a feeling the live services team is going to basically have to throw all their work over. I think the game's been in development for a couple years now, so they're going to have to throw all their code into the garbage.
Will they have to do that, or
well they'll have to because of the source code. Yeah, because with the current source code, I imagine someone could essentially reverse engineer it and then basically find a way to make some sort of money cheat, so you can basically just wreck the economy and everything. So I imagine that piece is likely just going to have to be completely scrapped and thrown in the garbage.
Right. I'm guessing you're in the camp that believes this is going to lead to a huge delay for the game.
Either a huge delay or there's going to be some extreme amounts of crunch that will likely become yet another expose on Rockstar. So we will have to see. I know for the last couple years, Rockstar has been much less severe on crunch, according to reports from journalists like Jason Schreier and so forth. That Rockstar has been generally better about crunch over the last couple years, but with something like this, unfortunately, I think the workers are going to get caught in the crossfire, and it's just going to be crunch city.
Well, that's because the housers have left. So if the housers aren't there, then I guess that whole type of culture was taken out with it. But yeah, I mean, I can see Take-Two essentially saying, no, we've put so much money into this game, you guys have to get it done. We'll give you X amount of time, and that might be a year. That might be a year to fix everything and get it back to where it was, and then get back to on your schedule. But you need to get it done. We're not giving you more time. I'm kind of on your end of this. I think they may delay it for a couple of years, because if the one thing about Grand Theft Auto is true, that it will make ungodly amounts of money when it comes out. So I think they could stand to spend more money. 2K could spend more money on the game to rebuild the code and get it back up to a running stance of where it was. My question... Go ahead.
I just have a feeling that the crunch may be due to Take-Two going, hey, we promised our stockholders potentially this game would be out soonish.
Yes.
So that's where I potentially see the crunch happening. But much like your thought, that there may be some pushback from Rockstar themselves to 2K to say, hey, you want this done right or you want this done wrong? And then Rockstar pushing back and going, you've seen how our past games have been. They're big blockbuster sellers, so if you want this done right, back the fuck off. And 2K may gripe and moan about it, but they may just suck it up and go, okay, we'll give you your delay. Here's the extra money to do it. Just get it fucking done.
That might be true, But the only types of studios that can do that is if there's someone powerful as a figurehead who can command that presence, command that type of thing. And those people were the Housers, and they're gone. If there's somebody else who's heading the entire project, Take-Two might turn and go, no, Rockstar has proven you're not. So, as far as we know, we don't know if you can make a Rockstar game. So, get it done, and give us some progress report, crunch like hell, and then we'll see what happens. And then maybe we'll delay it when we know that you're on the right track. That might be something that happens too. Like, if it was somebody like Hideo Kojima, to a certain extent, I could see him saying, no, I need more time, and you're going to give it to me because I'm Hideo Kojima, and I make great games, and people know that, and people wait for those games and buy them. Then they'll go, God damn it, you're right. Okay, fine. Here's your money. Here's your delay. I don't think they have that right now. Yes, they're Rockstar Games, and they made Grand Theft Auto, but it's the Housers who made the skeleton and what Grand Theft Auto is right now, and they're not there anymore. So I can see what you're saying, where they could say, we're Rockstar. We know we've done all this. We know what to do. But on the other hand, the people who made Rockstar isn't there. So that could be the pushback that, let's say, the higher-ups have to say, not really. Might I remind you of the GTA trilogy remakes that you guys made, or that you guys sent to somebody else that was a complete disaster? You're not exactly bulletproof, so yeah, sorry. It could be, that could be the issue too. It was also on Monday, the stock went down after the leak happened. People need to understand about this too. Any kind of bad news for a business is going to lead to a stock dip. It's just the way it is at this point. What will happen, basically, in my opinion, and tell me if you disagree, once the sales for NBA 2K is released, that stock price is going to go right back up. It's not going to matter. So, I don't
totally.
So that will be a very temporary thing. It's not going to lead to Take-Two having a price dip for the next week or two. But anyway, yeah, this was an interesting story to go throughout the entire day of Sunday. Basically, the reactions from gamers were like, "Oh, this looks like shit," and people reminding them, going, "Yo, it's not finished." I mean, come on. But the other interesting thing that I didn't realize until later in the day was the builds that they were using were PS4 and PC builds. So these aren't technically next-gen games. These are previous-gen PS4 games. Could this mean that if they have to redo the entire thing, that they're going to take it away from the PS4 and probably build it back to a PS5 game, an Xbox Series X game?
Yeah, that's going to be real interesting to see, because I know there have been a lot of games over this past year that have essentially just dropped their 8th gen console builds.
Yes.
A great example would be Tekken 8. Tekken 8 is not coming out to the original Xbox. It's still coming to, I believe, PS4 and PS5, but for the Xbox side, the only Xbox consoles that's coming to is the Series S and the Series X. Mm-hmm. So you've got games like that, which are already announcing that they're leaving behind 8th gen platforms. And then you've even got games that sort of stopped 8th gen platforms mid-development. The new Bat Children game,
Arkham Knights, yeah.
Yeah, Arkham Knights, they announced midway through the development cycle, hey, we need all the extra processing horsepower from 9th gen, so we're no longer doing 8th gen stuff, so no Xbox One and no PS4 versions of the game. So yeah, would not surprise me if they just use this opportunity with the code leak to say, you know what, let's just go ahead and build this from the ground up for 9th gen, and just later we'll make an announcement and say, yeah, so no PS4, no Xbox One, so either get a 9th gen console or get a PC, and if you're too cheap to do either, well, sucks to be you.
Yeah. I mean, if they have to rebuild the entire game, and it's going to take... my thoughts on it, I mean, they were 2 or 3 years in development, right? Or have they not announced how long it was in development for?
I can't remember for the life of me,
I
but I
can't
don't
either.
follow Grand Theft Auto 2 seriously.
But from what it sounds like, it was a multi-year development before that was leaked. And if they have to start all over, I mean, you're looking at that multiple years to actually build it back up to where it was. And if that's the case, it stands to believe that in the next year or two, like PS4 development's just gonna stop, and people are gonna stop making games for it. That is, unless the sales for the PS5 or the development for PS5 still is an issue at that point, which it may be. But I just don't like if they literally have to delay the game to build it back up. Like I can see them saying, well, then we're going to ditch PS4 then. And it might not be a bad idea. Like, GTA 5, it released on PS3 first, but even when it was re-released on PS4 and Xbox One, it still continued to sell. But that's also because a lot of people thought it was a great game. So, like, this is a franchise that I believe that if it comes out, people will buy new systems to play it. So they don't necessarily have to put it on older platforms for it to sell. It will sell systems to do that. What else in regards to the leak? I mean, I guess the only other thing I found interesting were journalists who were very anti-corporation and very anti-developers, especially Rockstar, who all of a sudden were like, oh, this is bad for Rockstar, and I feel so bad for them for all that's happening. Oh my god, this is so terrible. Like, dude, in every breath you got a chance, you would eviscerate them for the smallest things. Now you're gonna act like you're their champion? Come on now. I get it's a bad thing that happened this week, but it's not technically the end of the world. It's a setback, don't get me wrong, but they can bounce back from this and they will be largely unscathed, I would think. But what do you think?
The whole journalist running cover and sympathies for Rockstar was just kind of weird. It was just like, years ago, if there was a chance to slam Rockstar for their crunch practices, most of you were right up there, just kind of leeching off of the hard work that Jason Schreier did in his expose.
Mm-hmm.
And now all of a sudden you're just like, oh my goodness, please think of the poor Rockstar Corporation. It's just like, $5 says that when it comes out that they're having to crunch extra hard due to this leak, you're just going to be back to evil Rockstar. They can burn in hell and all this other junk.
Absolutely. And also, like, gamers who are, and people on Twitter and gamers were also like, like, oh, this is going to ruin the game. It's going to lose sales. No, it's not. It's not. I know it's different with film than with games, but my thing has always been, you can spoil a movie or a game or a TV show all you want, but if it's good, you'll watch it. Especially games. I think this is absolutely true with games. Movies, I can see people having a problem with, but games, not really. You can tell somebody what the story is from head to toe from a game, but if it sounds cool, they'll want to experience that story. So I don't think this is going to hurt their sales in the slightest. I think at most, it might actually help their sales, but with this being possibly the biggest leak ever when it comes to games. So, yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I definitely don't see an impact on sales. Just, even if they have to delay things, recode things, and do this, that, and whatever, just the day that Rockstar makes the official trailer to introduce the world of Grand Theft Auto 6 and things like that, you're going to have everyone just chomping at the bit going, when Rockstar, when can I get in on the newest iteration of a GTA Online powered by the framework of GTA 6? When can I get in on that beta? Because I want to start running jobs with my friends as a crew. Or you're going to have the single player centric people just going, I want this game right now. Just give me, give me, give me. What is the date? So yeah, I see absolutely zero impact to the sales.
Yeah, I do. I don't see any impact at all. I think at most this might actually help it to a certain extent. But I mean, anything more to add on this leak? Because it is a fascinating leak, and of course, if you want to see videos of everything now, good luck because Take Two is now starting to get their legal ninjas and trying to get rid of all of it. But yeah, like anything more to add on this? Really?
Mostly just I feel sorry for anyone who worked on the live services end because
Yeah,
they're having to literally start everything over from scratch, I imagine.
yeah. I mean, this if they release 6 and online separately, that might delay online. That might be what happens.
Oh yeah.
So, but I don't think this is. I'd be very surprised if this leads to a major delay on 6. And if it doesn't, they're crunching the hell out of those people. Then, if that's the case,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, so let us move on to the next story. Zero. This is a Zero special since I'm not really a hardware guy, but this is an interesting story that you clued us in on Friday. Basically, the company is named EVGA, correct? Or is EVGA the brand of a company?
No, it that is literally the company name EVGA.
Okay. So basically, they announced that they're no longer doing any NVIDIA style graphics cards.
Yeah. So and it's a really interesting story, and I will mention the original source for the story because just they do fantastic work, and uh, their exposés lately have just been absolute eye openers. But Gamers Nexus broke the news on Friday afternoon that EVGA is just getting out of the graphics card business, mostly due to just the absolute mountains of just insanity that NVIDIA has them go through as a um, original device manufacturer for the NVIDIA graphics cards. And it's a bit of a meaty expose. I would advise that if you have any interest in sort of how the business of graphics cards work, go to the Gamers Nexus YouTube channel and just pop this one on because I think the video is like anywhere from like 40 minutes to an hour.
Wow.
It's a really, really meaty expose. But Steve Burke, the main host of Gamers Nexus, ended up going to the EVGA headquarters out in California to talk with both their CFO and the CEO of the company to talk about what is going on with them and the whole graphics card business and everything. And long story short, just NVIDIA wants to have complete suffocating control on the supply, but also demand some pretty intense margins and everything too. In the video, when Steve Burke talks to the matter on what the profit margins are for their graphics cards, essentially what it boiled down to was that anything like the 3060s and above, EVGA loses several $100s per card.
Ugh.
They don't have the actual numbers revealed due to NDAs and stuff, but just that was pretty much the overall situation for graphics card production. That if it was a 3060 or higher, they were losing several $100s per card being made, and anything below the 3060, they made some profit on. So it's just one of those things that it's just absolutely eye-opening stuff because when most people see the prices of graphics cards, you're thinking, yeah, there's got to be some insane profit on these things. But when EVGA sort of aired the dirty laundry out and basically kind of said, yeah, so the graphic cards that most gamers want, they're actually bleeding the company of money. It's just sort of an eye-opening thing to see.
Now, how were
Um,
they making money if that was the case? Because it's the graphics cards that I would say give them the most credibility, wasn't it?
that was what EVGA built a lot of their brand on almost 20 years ago
Hmm.
when they started off. But here's the crazy part in the Gamers Nexus investigation into EVGA getting out of the graphics card business. 80% of EVGA's business was graphics cards. And while it was 80% of their business, it also, I think, comprised maybe 20% of their revenue, just something absolutely insane. It just kind of floored me that a bulk of their business was the graphic cards, but yet they were also losing a ton of money on the graphic cards too. Um, and in this investigative piece by Steve Burke, he also mentioned that Andrew Hahn, the CEO of EVGA, had said comparatively on their power source unit business for making like their in-house branded power sources and everything.
Hmm.
The profit margins for those are right around the 300% mark.
Oh wow. Okay.
So yeah, just it's one of those sorts of things that was just kind of completely illuminating. Just seeing some of the numbers and everything being thrown out and everything. Um, though, what made the whole situation further interesting is um, the CEO Andrew Hahn was saying that he won't be laying off people. He'll be trying to move and shuffle people to other roles and things like that. But if graphics cards were 80% of their business, yeah, there might not even be enough jobs to kind of give people. So there are kind of questions being opened up on is EVGA going to be talking to some of the other competing ODMs like Asus, Gigabyte, and so on and so forth,
Hmm.
and trying to shift some of their graphic card talent to those guys if they plan to stay in the graphics card business? Or is he going to be trying to do some sort of charity thing and, say, okay, since we're killing our graphic card divisions, I'm not doing layoffs, but I'll give you quite a severance package to basically kind of stay on and help us sort of realign our business until you can find a new job. There are just massive questions to be answered on this whole thing.
Hmm.
Though I think the bigger question going forward is what happens to the other original device manufacturers who decide to stay in the game and uh, and continue to work with NVIDIA and everything,
Hmm.
because with EVGA sort of airing the dirty laundry out that um, NVIDIA drops specs at the absolute last second on their newest graphic cards. So literally everyone's in the dark until Jensen Huang goes on stage and says, all right, so here's the brand new generation of graphic cards and here's all the specs. Just um, which that in itself is kind of shitty because of course now you have all the manufacturers having to scramble, basically kind of figure out how much it's going to cost them to get the raw materials and everything.
Hmm.
And then on top of that, you've got the whole situation that if you're making the desired graphic cards that most gamers are going to want, you're potentially losing several $100s,
Yeah.
and that's not really great either. And then more recently, Ethereum moved away from the proof of work concept for crypto mining and everything. So now you have a gigantic glut of secondhand and gray market cards flooding the market. So this ends up opening a sort of logistics nightmare for retailers because, of course, you've got a retailer who might be selling a brand new 3090 for about a grand, and then you've got just some some person who got out of the crypto mining game who might be selling a 3090 for let's just go with something ludicrous. Let's say $400, and the budget gamer, it's going to be a real easy decision for them. They're not going to go, well, I could spend $900 at Best Buy and get one that's basically brand new in box and pristine factory warranty, and I don't have to worry about a damn thing. They're going to start side-eyeing that one that's almost half price and go, I could use the extra money to buy a really wicked sick 12th gen Core i9 processor and maybe a complementary motherboard to go with it. So now you've got basically ODMs like Asus, Gigabyte, and so on and so forth now flooded from this whole crypto crash with just tons and tons of brand new graphic cards from the 3000 series that they can't get rid of because now everyone's excited for the new 4000 series. And then, of course, you've got these retailers who are just like, well, shit, now the 4000 cards are coming out and our supply rooms are flooded with these 3000 cards because we can't get them to sell. So now you have a situation where you've got retailers who are going to either have to try to fight with the manufacturers like Asus and Gigabyte to see if they can return the inventory, or maybe they end up just saying, you know what, to hell with it. We're just going to slash our inventory really, really hard. Just take the loss on the nose. And then just when Gigabyte, Asus, and all the other manufacturers start talking to us about how many graphic cards we order, we just go with a really small order instead. So it's just kind of an interesting sort of landscape that's sort of culminating in the background with this whole fallout of EVGA. There are just so many questions that are going to have to be answered. And ironically, today, NVIDIA just debuted the RTX 4090, and its price is pretty much double of the 3090. So just with this whole announcement dropping, I'm really wondering how the graphic card landscape is going to kind of shake out.
That's a lot of information.
Yeah.
Look, I like I mentioned on the top, I'm not a big hardware guy. I still have a 1080 Ti on my computer, so I'm still happy with it. So I'm not gonna upgrade anytime soon. I really have to wonder. I guess I have a couple of questions. If NVIDIA is doing the card sales right now as they are right now, which is they're constantly selling their founders editions, on top of the OEM cards, which I think the difference of them is that they come pre-overclocked. Is that what their difference is? Or
the ODM cards from like Asus and formerly EVGA and stuff. So how those worked is you could either get basically just bare bones stock cards that were 1-to-1 equivalent to the Founders Edition cards. So basically nothing different from the Founders Edition cards. Just they ran to spec and they put out the minimum performance that NVIDIA expects them to have to make sure that they match up with the Founders Edition cards. But in the Gamers Nexus video, they do talk about how NVIDIA has its own sort of requirements for you as an original device manufacturer, that you can only do certain things to the cards. And that's where just some of these ODM manufacturers like EVGA, they had to get creative to kind of upsell some of their cards to try to make a profit somewhere. So that's where you get the factory overclock cards from the ODMs like Asus, like Gigabyte, or some of the ones where they're partnered up with like another PC part manufacturer, like I forget which brand it was, but one of the brands partnered up with EK, which makes water cooling blocks. So you've got like the custom cooled NVIDIA GeForce cards that are synced up with like a copper water cooling block on them and everything. So, but even then, just NVIDIA still has like certain rules on how creative you can get.
So they're really. It just sounds like to me that there doesn't seem to be a business reason why NVIDIA does those things with these manufacturers, and that there's no real business reason for the manufacturers to work with NVIDIA. So why do it? Why? Like, that's the thing I don't understand. If you're going to hamstring these manufacturers on what they can do with their cards, just because I'm guessing they do it just because to want people to buy those founders cards. Why share the specs in the first place? Why not just hold it close to the vest and just release the cards as they are, and that's the only card you can get? Why work with these OEMs?
And I think that's where my wondering on brands like Asus, Gigabyte, and so on and so forth, with EVGA airing the dirty laundry, do all these device manufacturers, do they sort of kind of group up and basically demand to renegotiate the terms with NVIDIA, or do they just say, well, we don't want to rock the boat, so we're just going to shut up and we're just going to keep making graphics cards because, hey, these graphic cards are the ones that the gamers want. It puts brand awareness to our brand, and then we build loyalty with the PC gamers who have stuck with our brand because they know us for high quality graphics cards. So that's really where I predict things will get a bit interesting.
Now, this also makes me wonder what AMD's cut is on their RX cards. I mean, do they even do ODM cards on the AMD cards, or what is?
Yeah. So Sapphire is an ODM for the AMD cards, and they're probably the most well known one because just they're much like EVGA, that the Sapphire branded cards stick very, very closely to the spec that AMD launches. I don't know if AMD produces their own in-house cards, or if they do, it might be kind of like how the Founders Edition cards were, which were the original principle of the Founders Edition cards were just, they would be limited to just the launch period. And it was just kind of like a hardcore way of saying you were first one on the ground with an actual NVIDIA card. So, but the Founders Edition stuff has since changed, that NVIDIA just kind of produces them for as long as the generation is current. So, but yeah, just unfortunately with AMD, I don't know very much on their cards, which is a bit of a blind side for me. So, yeah. But yeah, maybe someone who listens or watches our podcast might be able to correct me on that.
Okay. So overall, what do you think this is going to do to the business for graphic cards, especially now that it seems like graphic card prices are doubling each iteration?
Honestly, I don't know how this will shake out. I'm just really curious, especially with the whole crypto shift away from proof of work. So now you've got eBay and third party stores sort of reselling these used cards now. Your big box retailers, they're overstocked on 3000 cards now. And then you've got your original device manufacturers. They're probably overstocked with 3000 series cards right now because they thought that this rush on graphic cards would probably continue forever, not realizing a lot of the rush for the graphic cards was due to the whole desire for everyone to get into crypto. It's just a messy situation all around, and I'm looking forward to Gamers Nexus doing a follow-up article on this whole situation with EVGA, because I think Steve Burke had teased that he would be talking about the monetary numbers when the NDAs go away.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see what happens after the RTX 400, the 40 series comes out, and what comes from there. So yeah, we're going to move on to our next story. Now, Zero, the Edge Runners anime came out on Netflix for Cyberpunk 2077. They announced this shortly before the release of 2077, I believe. And I know some of you are asking, Wiz, you're not some kind of geeky anime type of podcast. You're a gaming/movie podcast. Why do we want to hear about this anime bullshit? And I will say to you, sir, you got a point. But still, there's a reason why we are talking about this. After the Edge Runners release, and a patch, and the fact that the game's on sale, the numbers for the game playing numbers of Cyberpunk 2077 ballooned this week. In an article from VGC, basically they reached around 50,000 concurrent players on Saturday alone, and it is still growing as this is going on. They say in the report that it's due to a previous significant patch, and possibly to the fact that the Edge Runners anime came out and was positively received because of that as well. Zero, what are your thoughts on the fact that Cyberpunk 2077 seems to be enjoying kind of a resurgence as of right now?
There was quite a big push for people to watch the new anime show on Netflix and everything, because CD Projekt Red did do a Night City Wire presentation sometime last week before the anime debuted and everything, and it was one of those things that they had sort of said, hey, just heads up, the anime is sort of a prelude to the game, so just if you haven't played the game and you want to know what Night City is all about, check out the Night Runners anime. And after that, if you can't get enough Cyberpunk, check out our game. It's going to be on sale to celebrate our new version 1.6 patch. So it's kind of the same sort of knock-on effect that we saw with the Witcher TV show that debuted on Netflix. When that hit, the numbers for people playing Witcher 3 sort of spiked as a response from everyone who had watched the TV show and were just like, hey, I want more sweet Witcher lore. Okay. Witcher 3 is on sale for dirt cheap on Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. Hell yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and check this game out.
Yeah, that's a good point. But the way I always used to think about it was when it's quality games. Like, let's say a TV series was made out of a game that was actually really good, and that would cause a spike in playership after that. That made sense to me. It's surprising with Cyberpunk because, yes, they have been improving the game since it was released, but in many cases I've heard, especially with podcasts that we listen to, it's still broken in certain aspects. Like, some parts just still don't work in the game. It has improved, but a lot of people still complain that it's not where it should be still. And that's after 2 years of updates.
Yeah, I know Jeff Gerstmann was talking about how just you can get bugged saves even still today, and that's been a problem that's existed since day one. And it's a bit funny because one of the things that debuted with the Cyberpunk 1.6 patch was the ability to cloud save your game and move from console to PC and PC to console. And in his podcast episode last week, he was saying he got into a situation where so to clarify about the cloud save function, the game that you're playing, when you set up the cloud save to talk to your GOG Galaxy account, it will your game will upload the 3 most recent saves to the cloud, and then from there, that's when you'll log into the other platform you want to play on, and then the game will download your 3 most recent saves from the cloud save platform into wherever you're choosing to resume your game. And he had mentioned getting into situations where the game autosaved in like the middle of a movie scene or something, so he was unable to draw a weapon or anything like that. And just when I had heard that, I was just like, oh my god, you've got to be kidding that you still have these bugs that have existed since day one. And it's now causing complications with this new cloud save feature that you've debuted. Holy cow. I'm amazed that the game is getting just sort of renewed attention due to the TV show, because I just can't imagine most people being willing enough to tolerate some of the wacky bugs that are still in the game.
I mean, is the TV show that good though? Like, I've heard from people who've watched The Witcher, and they say it's good, but I don't know if it's that good to warrant someone to want to play the game as soon as they watch the series. I mean, you saw Edge Runners, right?
No, I did not. Mostly because just I beat Cyberpunk earlier this year, but just with how unsatisfying the main story was, I was just kind of like, I'm already cyberpunked out. I really don't care to kind of come back and watch a TV show that's essentially a prequel. So, yeah, probably not going to watch this. Probably just going to skip it and everything.
Okay. I thought you saw it, so I'm mistaken. I haven't heard that much in the way of great things about the show. That's why I was really surprised by this story and how all of a sudden the concurrent players have spiked since the release of the show. Because I always thought that if the show is good or amazing, and then it leads to people buying the game, is when I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Kind of like what happened with, let's say, the Lord of the Rings games and the Harry Potter games that came out when they were in the movie theaters at certain times. That made sense because people love those movies so much. They're like, oh, yeah, I'll play the game, and then they play it and go, it's okay. Actually, the Lord of the Rings games on the PS2 are actually really good, so I'll refrain from that one. But yeah, I don't know. I was just surprised to hear that people thought that must have been the anime that caused this. So I'm just really curious. What do you think it is that caused the spike? Was it the patch, or the fact that it was discounted to $30? Because I don't see anything that shows that it got a great big amount of sales either. There's no data on that, at least.
Yeah. The only thing I can think of is just a lot of people who like the deep cyberpunk lore, love the anime because it provided some deep cuts on lore, and we're just like, I haven't bought it yet. Hey, it's on discount. Why the hell not?
I guess this is going to be a thing that keeps happening when they do new patches or they announce new things. I don't know. I was just surprised by this. I think this will be the last spike we see from Cyberpunk until, let's say, the expansion comes out, which I think is January, I think?
Yeah, sometime next year.
Yeah, so, yeah. I was just surprised by this and why I added it on to the show this week.
For anyone who likes the deep lore of Cyberpunk and wants to kind of get back into it, then now's a great time, apparently, because the 1.6 patch adds some stuff, new guns, new outfits. I think the debut of a photo mode. So if you're into taking in-universe screenshots, that's a thing now. And with the new 4000 series cards coming from NVIDIA, the PC version is going to get a major ray tracing update. So if you want the shiny, crispy graphics, then yeah, go get yourself a RTX 4090 and prepare to have your face melted.
All right. Well, we'll move on then. Zero, we've heard bits and pieces about the new PSVR 2 ever since games were talked about on State of Play streams. And we didn't ever really hear much. Even when they started showing off the actual system, what the controllers looked like, we didn't hear much about price or about specs or anything concrete. Well, in a random PlayStation podcast this week, I think it's the official PlayStation podcast, one of the developers from the PSVR 2 just let the cat out of the bag and said, oh yeah, by the way, no backwards compatibility to PSVR 1. And this caused a bit of a concern for a lot of people who were fans of the PSVR 1. Zero, what did you think about when you heard that there was not going to be backwards compatibility with PSVR 2?
My first thought was, oof, you're going to have a lot of people who are PSVR 1 evangelists immediately getting skeptical and going, I'm not so sure I'm gonna drop money on this PSVR 2 if they're that quick to say, yeah, we're not really gonna do backwards compatibility, so don't throw out your old PS Move controllers and your PS4 camera and your PSVR 1 headset and processing box. You're gonna need those if you ever decide to go back in time and experience those games. That was pretty much my first thought.
Yeah, like I wasn't too surprised by this because if I remember when they showed off what the PSVR 2 was going to look like, I didn't see a camera involved and I didn't see move controllers. So
Well, as far
okay.
as the camera goes, it's going to be using the new PS5 camera, and that in
Okay.
itself is $60.
Oh, okay. Okay, so then there's new technology in that camera. Then I guess that they're gonna notice the PSVR 2, I guess sense sticks are what they call the sense paddles or whatever the hell they call them now. But okay,
Yeah.
yeah. All right. So the backwards compatibility thing didn't surprise me too much. Like, if they have to update the hardware to that point, I don't see how they're going to make them work when the hardware from the PS4 PSVR required, number one, very antiquated technology such as the Move controllers and a PSVR camera, a PS4 camera that need to recognize those Move controllers. So I didn't see how.
Well,
Go ahead.
the thing is just the recognition that PSVR 1 used was camera based, and PSVR 2 is still using camera based technology, but now you've also got some more advanced technologies too. Kind of the way I potentially saw it was, backwards compatibility could be done. Um, it might be one of those things that it might require you to have the PS5 camera and everything, but yeah, just at the same time, the other thought that I had was, as well, sure, you could probably use the PS5 camera, but at the same time, you would have a lot of people sort of wondering what the point of telling PSVR 1 owners that they could register with Sony to get a PSVR or a PS4 camera adapter for PSVR to be adapted for use with a PS5 and everything. But yeah, just I don't know. As someone who owns a PSVR setup and everything, it's a bit sad to see that there is no backwards compatibility. But at the same time, I kind of do understand it. But at the same time, I feel that they could have taken a little bit of care in maybe taking I guess, more patient sort of development cycle to see if there was any sort of way that they could maybe provide some sort of backwards compatibility feature or something. But I don't know. I'm not a VR developer, so I can't really comment too much.
Right. I wonder what this will mean for those games in the like when it comes to things like Astrobot and Iron Man that was made for PSVR. Will this mean that they will update them to the PS5, PSVR 2 titles, or are they gonna do the remakes and they'll have you repurchase the game for PSVR 2? That will be the other question. Because if they basically just update them to work on PSVR 2, I can see that softening the blow to a certain extent. But if they turn around and say, hey, relive the classic Astrobot rescue mission in PSVR 2, $70 please.
Yeah,
That's gonna sit very well with people who have the PSVR.
yeah, that'll be interesting to see if the avenue to port the games is really easy. If it's just something that you just click a button and boom, hey, you now have a PS5 version that you can give to your former customers for free as sort of a thank you for buying the PSVR 1 version. Or, yeah, if you're going to have like bigger production games, basically say, oh, well, we're not doing a free upgrade, but you're more than welcome to repurchase the new PS5 optimized version that runs on PSVR 2, and also we're using modern day game pricing, so $70 please.
Yeah. I mean, and Sony's MO now isn't to give free upgrades either. They have you charge the $10 premium more in order to get the PS5 version. So, I don't see them doing a free update for any of this. I see them essentially trying to once again milk their customers to get more money to get those updates. The other thing that I noticed when this was announced was there were some PlayStation centric Twitter users and who are obviously Sony ponies, who are basically saying, "Yo, I can see this being like $650 to $700, the entire system."
Ugh.
I mean, do you doubt it?
It's not that I doubt it, but it's more me recoiling in disgust
Yeah.
of the possibility of that, because it just harkens back to just the days of Neo Geo trying to basically build their AES home console system as the best way to play arcade grade video games in your own house, and them pretty much going balls in on the marketing of, yeah, if you're considering a Neo Geo, you don't care the cost. All you just care is that you've literally got an arcade at your house.
Mhm.
And the AES, for anyone who needs historical context, was about $600 or $700 in 1995, and that translates to almost 1.2 grand in today's money.
Yeah.
So extremely expensive, and to think that if PSVR 2 is possibly speculated to run about the price of $600 or $700, and on top of that you need to buy a PlayStation 5 console, and if you're buying the disc one, that's another $500. So yeah, we're talking about $1,200 just to get into this. And for those who have forgotten, the HTC Vive Pro complete bundle that you can buy on Steam is right about $1,000, but that has the prerequisite of you having to have a gaming PC capable of pushing VR stuff.
Yes. I do not think it's going to be $700, but I get the feeling it's probably going to be the cost of a PS5 to get the PSVR 2 kit. And even that is absolutely ridiculous to me. And
Yeah.
as good as the games seem to look like, because let's be honest, we don't really know what they look like. These could change at any point in time when you put on when they finally release and you put on the goggles. So they might be doing some sharpening up in those trailers. But even then, to have to then buy a PS5 for $550 and then have to buy the PSVR 2 for another $550, and you have to pay for each game, which is probably going to be $70 each. I mean, that is enormously ridiculous, and I don't see that being a big seller. Like, PSVR 1 did all right, but it was 300. I think it was 300, correct? That it costed when it came out.
I believe it was $250, but in the game, in the bundles that included a game in the box, it was bumped to $300 if I remember correctly.
Okay. So that was half the price of the console. And even when that happened, I thought that was no, that's a bit much. Asking for, but I don't see this being a $250, $300 system with the way they're talking about it. They're talking about this is a premium experience. This is something you will want. This is something you will want to have. And if that's the case, they're going to justify it by pricing it as such, which will be, I think, $500 minimum. I think. What do you think?
Pricing wise, I'm going to be real curious on it, because just if they somehow price it down to maybe $300, my first question is going to be, okay, how bad are they cheaping out on the parts? Did they decide to ditch the 4K screens and go with like a cheaper 1440p units? Are the new orb controllers using cheaper tracking? Just I would have just a million questions if they were to try to bring it down to a cheap price point. Because while PSVR 1 wasn't too bad, just there definitely were compromises due to the fact that just a lot of the VR technology was just expensive.
Mhm.
Though, granted, it was a great cheap entry point compared to something like the Oculus VR headset and everything. But still, just there were some compromises made on PSVR 1, and if PSVR 2 came out at a similar price point, that would be my first concern. It'd just be like, okay, where did you guys cheap out? Just you build this originally as going to be one of the most premium VR experiences, and now you're cheaping out on it. Just got compromised to bring this price down to this low point, and then of course, if it keeps a price point of being equivalent to a PS5, I just don't see it being a really rapid seller either, because of course most people are just going to say, really, just I get a controller, a pair of controllers, a headset, maybe they bundle in the PS5 camera in the box too, and people are just going to go, and I get no games to demo how neat this technology is, and you're asking $550 for me? Yeah, fuck that. I'm just going to wait for a sale.
I gotta be honest too. I have never been interested in VR, so I don't have a dog in this race really. But I look at something like the Quest, even though they raised the price $100 recently on there, and looking at that being the best way to do VR, because you just have a standalone set that you can just pop into your head and you can play on it, and then you're good. I mean, that makes sense to me. But to have these sets now that, unless they are like really impressive, and I mean really impressive, spending over $1,000 on this set when you don't know how much, do we still even know how much they're going to put into this set at this point? Like, if this doesn't sell very well, are they going to toss this thing? Because they didn't necessarily do that with PSVR 1, but from what I remember hearing is that the sales, the margin of profit they had for the set was decent to a certain extent. So they were able to put more money into it in a long-term sense. But if this bombs, if this doesn't do very well in, like, let's say the first year, could Sony just jettison it and say, oh, okay, that failed, bye? Like, then what? Like, what do we do?
Oh yeah, and that's a fair concern too, because yeah, just it could be a repeat of the PlayStation Vita situation. Just they see low sales and they just go, well, I guess no one wants VR anymore, so just cancel any major VR projects we had, and then all of a sudden there'll be an outcry from people who own the PSVR 2 kit, and Sony will then go, okay, just we'll do some partnering with some major third party brands, and those partnerships will be half-hearted at best, and then those will bomb, and then of course it'll be, yep, we tried, but no one wants a PSVR 2, so just take this thing out back and shoot it in the face.
Yeah. Jesus. Okay. That went dark. Anything more to add? Hopefully not.
No, just I think that's really where I have my concerns with PSVR 2, because as someone who quite loved the Vita and everything, just that was sort of what happened to it. Just the expensive memory cards, the system being pricey as it is, and then of course just Sony decided to make this campaign of, oh, we're going to give the Vita a shot in the arm, and we're going to partner up with Gearbox, and Borderlands 2 is going to be on this thing, and turned out that Borderlands 2 was outsourced to Iron Galaxy, and Iron Galaxy had to correct the shit out of it, and it wasn't that great in the end, and just all sorts of other stuff happened with the Vita that just Sony was just like, okay, well, we're going to take Old Yeller, the Vita, out back, and then all you hear is a gunshot, and you're just like, oh god, what happened to Old Yeller? We had to put him down.
Oh, Jesus. That again. Okay, I think we're going to stop this before you get too blue and too dark on this. But okay. All right, Zero. Well, that is almost the end of the podcast. But as always, I have a question for you.
All right.
Okay, so a funny thing happened on the way to my Twitter profile. God, I could have said that better. Well, anyway, I was on Twitter and yesterday, and I guess the big controversy that happened with Twitch this past week was due to gambling and a specific streamer who essentially conned a bunch of his followers, mods, and other streamers to get money from them in order to gamble more, essentially is what happened. This led to a bunch of streamers saying that Twitch needed to get rid of gambling in itself off of Twitch, essentially. It was Pokimane, Destiny, is XQC, the Mischief was another one, who basically were saying, they need to do this or else we're going to go on strike on Christmas week. After that was said, that was yesterday. Today, Twitch made a statement saying this. I'll read it in whole. Gambling content on Twitch has been a big topic of discussion in the community and something we have been actively reviewing since our last policy update in the area. Today we want to update you on our plans. We will prohibit sharing links or referral codes to all sites that include slots, roulettes, or dice games. We've seen some people circumvent those rules and expose our community to potential harm. So we're making a policy update on October 18th to prohibit streaming of gambling sites that include slots, roulette, or dice games that aren't licensed in the U.S. or other jurisdictions that provide sufficient consumer protection. These sites will include stake.com, rollabit.com, duelbits.com, and Roobet.com. However, we may identify others as we move forward. We will continue to allow websites that focus on sports betting, fantasy sports, and poker. We'll share more specifics on the updates to our gambling policy, soon including the full policy language, to make sure everyone is clear on our new rules before they take effect on October 18th. Zero, my question is this. What did you think about the statement from Twitch regarding gambling on their site? And what did you feel about the streamers who were about to strike because of this specific issue?
With regards to Twitch's statement on the whole thing, I did find the exceptions a bit funny that they would still allow sports betting, fantasy sports, and poker. Because the first thing that I thought in my mind was, Twitch partnership with the World Series of Poker.
Bingo. Oh, yeah. Definitely. And I put a tweet out there when these streamers were saying we're going to go on strike, basically saying, you guys realize that this could be a potential big moneymaker for Twitch, that what you want probably isn't going to happen in this sense. And this statement confirms it to me pretty much, because I don't think these streamers were saying, we gotta get rid of dice games. What were the ones? Dice games, roulettes, and maybe slots, but I don't think they were really thinking about that specifically. I think they were talking about betting, poker, and what was the other one that they were allowing? Not fantasy, but betting
fantasy
and poker.
Sports.
Yes, fantasy sport, whatever. They were talking about, I think, about those two things, poker and sports betting, because those are big. Those are big money makers, and they are, and as always, they are also gambling. So if they turn around and say, "Oh yeah, this is a victory," they don't. If they turn around and go, "Oh yeah, this is a clear victory. This is what we were asking for," and Twitch listened, you guys don't know shit, do you? Because here's the thing: if Twitch decides to lean into gambling, if they allow, let's say, DraftKings to have their own channel and to allow sports betting and parlays and odds and stuff like that on their, and have shows regarding that on their service, that would make much more money than Hassan Piker, XQC, Pokimane, Amaranth, any of them. That would make more money than any of them would, which would eventually lead to the corporatization of Twitch, where only brands and big money making, like, what do you call it? Like, it would lead to what's going on YouTube right now, where only authoritative sources get special treatment on YouTube. So that will essentially what will happen with Twitch as well. So I think this was much less about the objectionability of gambling. It was more of one of them realizing, oh shit, if this keeps happening, this could beat us, and we could be irrelevant fairly quickly. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's kind of funny with the whole threats of strikes and things like that and everything, especially with big personalities like Pokimane and the like, basically saying, "Hey, you guys need to talk about the whole gambling situation and either put a stop to it or put down some hard rules, or we'll strike on Christmas." Because it's like you said. I mean, on one end, Twitch could just see that as a business opportunity and go, "Okay, well, great. You big streamers don't want to stream on Christmas Day because you want to protest on with regards to us doing bad stuff with gambling stuff. Well, sucks to be you. It's going to be a gambling special for Christmas, and just
pretty much."
Just World Series of Poker entry tournaments and sports betting parlors showing off like sports bets going on, or some fantasy football nerd talking about how he's got like $4,000 riding on some sort of Christmas Day game or something. Just yeah, I could totally see that being a possible scenario.
Yeah,
and then the other side of the coin is just maybe the big stars like Pokimane and all those who are playing to protest, maybe when they see Twitch do this whole thing of, oh, you want to protest? Well, screw you guys. We're going to do a gambling special on Christmas Day. Maybe the big stars turn around and go, oh, well, I guess I'll start talking to YouTube and see if YouTube wants to pay out my penalty and, just poach me for talent. So, and then that ends up not panning out well for Twitch, because Twitch ends up losing top streaming talent just for sort of a small payday on the gambling end.
Well, okay. That is a possibility of what could happen. I don't think Twitch would be that naked about it. I think, yes, they would probably highlight more gambling or sports betting Twitch streamers. But what I think they would do is that to those people who are striking, they say, okay, fine, we'll just highlight these other streamers. We'll just highlight, oh, this person that is usually got 50,000 and not 80,000 like these guys, we'll highlight them. And they'll get all of that. They'll get all of what XQC would have. Or they would get all of what Pokimane would have. And then suddenly, as months go by, Pokimane is less and less on the top page. XQC isn't on the top page anymore. What gives? I wonder why. I think that is I think they would be a little more sneaky than that. And just be like, oh, so if that's what you're going to do, then, oh, you like these benefits? Oh, too bad. There we go. Oh, this guy's getting big. That's interesting. I wonder how that happened. I think that is essentially what's going to happen. And I'll give you one as well, Zero. If that turns around and Pokimane goes, fine, I'm going to YouTube. Whatever. If what I think is going to happen happens, it's not going to matter if Pokimane goes to YouTube. Because if they start saying, well, wait a minute, if we just sponsor with all these corporate brands and they do streams on our stuff and they start making the money that we need to get out of the red, okay, bye, Pokimane. It's like, bye. See ya. I can see that definitely happening. Aren't all the didn't they get rid of exclusivity pretty much in all of these on all these contracts? I thought
No,
that.
I mean, there's still exclusivity deals and stuff like
Okay.
that. So, especially because I know there have been some stars in recent years where their Twitch contracts finally came up, and they were just like, yeah, I don't really like Twitch anymore, so bye, going to YouTube gaming or something.
Oh yeah, that'll work out well for you. Look, I mean, YouTube is gaining a bigger foothold in streaming, but even I recognize that it's not as good as Twitch. So if these guys do end up doing that, it will probably hurt them more in the end. But on the other hand, like, this is an odd thing also to get bent out of shape over all of a sudden. Like, we've talked to somebody who also pretty much said, like, Twitch has bigger problems right now than gambling. Like, they have bigger problems than an adult person who decided to do stupid things in order to feed his gambling addiction. Okay? You can't police what adults do. And I'm sorry, but I don't know how any of these people really survive in the real world when they're giving people they don't know $10,000, $50,000, $100,000. Like, because their bank account got locked? I mean, first, maybe this is because I was in banking. First off, I would ask, hold up, how did your bank account get locked again? Like, wait, what happened now? Like, if there's not like a good reason, like, oh, fraud. That's what happened. Like, someone got into my account and there was fraud in my account. They had to close the account. I have a new one, but I don't have a card or the account number yet to another couple days. I need cash now. Like, and then in 3 days' time, I'll pay you back. That is the thing that blows my freaking mind right now. I'm like, well, hold up a second now. like, for my good friends, like, even borrowing like $100 is like, wait. What? $100? Why? What do you need $100 for? Wait, when am I getting my money back? Wait, what's going on? Like, you don't ask questions? You don't, like, try and decipher, like, is something else going on here? Or are these guys that, how do I put this? Are they that close-minded? Not close-minded. Are they that, okay. All right. This is going to sound, are they that dumb to not realize that, to not ask, why do you want so much money? Why is, like, that didn't enter their brain at a certain point going, wait, that's weird. Why is he all of a sudden ask for $10,000 in cash? Like, that's weird. And I don't know this person. Yeah, I might have been in a stream or two with him. Or yeah, he may message me here and there, and he's a big Twitch streamer. But I don't know this person. Why is he asking for cash? And that's the other thing. This guy who did it was a big Twitch streamer. He could have gotten the money back, what? In like a month? Maybe 2? Why did he need to borrow the money right away? Hello, guys. What happened here? Like, really? Like, go ahead, Zero. I'm sorry. I'm rambling.
I think, yeah, just the fact that people just be so willing to just drop that much cash on this streamer's gambling issue. Granted, I don't put the blame fully on them because he had some sort of sob story that he would tell people and everything. So, and it's human nature that, you know, just sob stories end up tugging at our heartstrings. And, you know, in some people's cases with this guy asking for, you know, just help with some cash stuff, people likely open their wallets for this guy. They're just like, yo, you seem like a legit dude. Sure, why the hell not? But at the same time, it's just like, that just floors me that you'd just be willing to just drop a ton of cash on this streamer that you don't really quite know his story completely, and you're only getting one side of the story. You don't know what the other angle of the story is, but you're more than willing to drop the cash on this guy.
Right.
That's a bit wild.
Yeah. And let's not get it twisted. What the guy did was scummy. I don't care.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yes, he has a problem. I get it. But that doesn't negate the fact that what he did was scummy as hell. to ask fans, mods, who are pretty much your employees, for what? Hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars, is a scumbag move. I don't care if you are having a problem, okay? Hopefully you're able to pay these people back. That's the one thing I hope, okay? But but honestly, the mods and the fans should get paid back right away first. And then the streamers who decided to park $1,000 or $10,000 to him should wait it out for a little bit. They should just, honestly, in my mind, eat that cost at this point. Because if you're that stupid with your money, okay, if you're that stupid with your money, you deserve to lose at this point. Granted, again, with the mods and the fans, you shouldn't have done it either, and that was stupid. But this guy clearly manipulated you and used his quote-unquote power as a streamer to manipulate you into doing it, and that was very, very wrong. Oh, God. And this whole thing just sounded like maulding to me. Like, oh my God, we got screwed. And we want to look as good as possible in this. So we're going to make a justified cause into saying, oh, we're going to right this wrong and hope it never happens again. Guys, if you weren't that stupid, it wouldn't have happened, period. So, yeah, I mean, look, if I am being, what's the word? If I'm being a bit of a dick about this, okay? Which, okay, maybe I am. Maybe I'm being a little bit of a dick about this. Fine. Call me a dick. I don't care at this point. But I've seen so many people fall for these scams before. And it just comes down to, and most people I feel bad for, because these are people that get scammed who don't really have the money to do it, but they feel in their hearts that they just have to because it's the good thing to do. And it's usually older people who are not good with their money who fall for this stuff. For these people who are like, some are maybe not millionaires, but they make a good amount of money. To be that stupid with their money and to do this, it's just like, good God, you're not doing this for a good reason. You're doing it to save face. That's why it really annoyed me to a certain extent about this.
It's just a messy situation all around, but yeah, it kind of, to loop back to the Twitch PR statement on it, just, it's kind of funny because it feels like a half-hearted effort. I know I was seeing some commentary online about this whole situation from some smaller streamers and stuff on social media saying, well, that's great that Twitch is getting attention brought to this whole promotion of gambling on its platform and everything, but Twitch still hasn't fixed some of the other systemic issues that are going on with the platform too. And to that, it's a bit of a fair point. Just it doesn't seem like Twitch moves on anything that affects just most smaller channels, but the minute that any of the major Twitch stars start bitching and complaining, Twitch just rolls out the red carpet and just says, hey, well, we'll do a thing. But the reason I feel that this effort is half-hearted is the carve-outs for sports betting, fantasy sports, and poker. Because, yeah, just there's lots of money to be made in those avenues. And I can see some very unscrupulous fantasy sports places, sports betting joints, and poker tournaments just kind of doing things in a very, very legally shaky manner just to kind of get more eyes on what they're doing on Twitch versus just Twitch just saying, hey, we are allowing gambling content, but it's also going to be age gated too. So.
Right. And that is the thing they should have asked for. They shouldn't have said ban gambling altogether, because it wasn't going to happen. But age-gate would have been the compromise. That would have been the thing is, hey, at least age-gate this stuff so kids don't watch this stuff. Then I would be like, okay, you got a point there. Fine. That sounds good. But let's not pretend they did this out of a means of basically saying, "Oh, this is wrong and this must stop." No, these guys got screwed and looked like idiots. And when that happens, they were saving face to say, "This is a serious problem. We should do something about this." That's the only reason why they did it. And I'll bet any amount of money, if this becomes the meta, how much do you want to bet you'll see Pokimane doing poker at some point in 6 months? Saying like, "Oh yeah, it brings the views, so here she is in like a cute sweater and playing poker and talking to her chat." How much do you want to bet that's going to happen? I mean, maybe not Pokimane. I don't know. But I can see one of these people going, "Well, if that's the meta and that makes the money, I'm doing it." So what then? Like, I don't buy the altruistic, the altruistic lens that these people are claiming this to be. Like, I just don't. I think they realize, oh, this is very popular and this could hurt us. If they're smart, of course. I think this is where it came from. I don't think this is an altruism thing at all. What do you think?
I just don't see much altruism to come out of this. I mean, they can put a veneer of altruism on it, but it still doesn't eliminate the fact that just there's going to likely be just an undertow of gambling now that the carve-outs have basically been officially named and essentially endorsed by Twitch, to say the least.
Yeah.
So I just potentially just see yet another gambling problem that will go out of control, and then of course, when it goes out of control, either you'll have the same streamers making a rabble rousing out of the gambling situation that got us these carve-outs, then trying to make an altruistic stand, going, "Hey, this gambling problem is once again out of control. You need to do something, or else we will do yet another boycott." And yeah, I hate being cynical about it, but yeah, I just don't see this ending well. It just seems flowery on top, but yeah, I just do not see this ending well in whatever shape or form.
Yeah, like this is faux altruism, and it's gonna blow up in their faces if they continue. Like, if they Twitch essentially just gave them an out with the statement, but if they turn and go, "Not good enough," well, guys, it's gonna have to be good enough, because they ain't gonna let go of poker and online and sports betting and fantasy sports. They're just not. They're big money makers. It would be foolish of Twitch to then say, "Okay, guys, even though you're not making us money, fine, we'll do what you say. None of this." Don't even. No. I honestly think that if they press the issue enough, they might see themselves in a world of hurt. So enjoy the nice win that you have, guys. That's all you're going to get in this one. And if you're smart, I would drop it at this point. And maybe plan your exit for YouTube. Maybe do that. But, well, on that lovely note, that'll be the end of this episode of the Capital Games Podcast. Tune in next week to where me and Zero talk about the going-ons and happenings of the video game industry. I am The Wiz.
And I'm Zero.
And we will talk next week. Bye.